Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
I can hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. Welcome back after a great weekend. How was your weekend, Coach?
Welcome back to all of our buzzer beaters. The weekend was good. Did some celebrating this weekend. Celebrated my niece, and then my mom's birthday was yesterday. So a lot of family time, a lot of family and friend time over the weekend. Watched some football, and then just relaxed. Got back for the market kickoff to start off another good week. How was yours?
Great, relaxing, kind of chill, didn't do much, and got a lot of sleep. So I was
Some of the best
enjoyed
weekends,
it.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, no planned weekends are some of the best weekends. Trying to figure out why my lighting looks so dark. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. But let us know how your weekend was in the chat. You had a good weekend and a good start to your week. I'll be right back. I'm going to close one of these shades.
All right. Well, you look good from here. So
There you go. That's better.
okay, yeah. You look younger, if that's possible.
Right. All right. So again, welcome everyone to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may review some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we can take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some of my experience, some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. Again, you are all our chat, our audience. We appreciate you being here as always. Shout out to Bruno in the chat, helping us run this segment as always. Bruno says, my weekend was great, ate like an elephant. All right.
I'll leave the second half out of it.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing. All right, Socrates, I look less washed out. That is good to hear. But let's get into the markets. As far as planned news goes, pretty quiet on the economic calendar. We had a Chicago National Activity Index number that came out, negative 0.12. Forecast was negative 1.5. Ton of Fed speakers out today. We heard Myron for the first time since being appointed and since the Fed decision. Pretty much hinting at the Fed needing to do more rate cuts. He was the one dissenter that we had for the last rate decision. And now that the Fed is out of the blackout period, we got a ton of Fed speakers. Williams was speaking today, Musalem, Myron, Hammock, Barkin. Tomorrow we have Powell speaking. So it should be a week of heavy Fed talk. We know that the markets, will pay attention to the headlines, anything coming out of the Fed. As far as planned numbers goes, tomorrow we have S&P Services PMI and Manufacturing PMI numbers, as well as Bostic and Powell speaking. Some other numbers later in the week. Anything you got on the news, Coach Paul?
Nothing else on that. A lot of talk, but nothing big that to me it made any difference.
Yep. Nothing big. NVIDIA making $100 billion OpenAI bet. Seems like a ton of money coming into AI from some of the bigger tech firms, and a lot of it going to OpenAI. $100 billion investment in OpenAI from NVIDIA. NVIDIA had a hell of a move today. And if we want to talk about news, the markets gave us enough to talk about. We had 4 markets today making new all-time highs in the futures. That was the NASDAQ, the S&P, gold, and the Dow, all making new all-time highs in the futures. So we will definitely talk about all of those. To the downside today, on our 36 different markets we can trade with Topstep accounts, to the downside, we have Bitcoin down 2.64%, natural gas down 2.67%, and micro Ethereum futures, our biggest percentage mover to the downside, down 6.52%. To the upside, we had cattle up 1.91%, gold up 2.02%, again, making new all-time highs, and silver making new highs of the year, up 3.16%. To talk about our big 4, yeah, it's a huge move for silver. Crude oil down 0.1%. The S&P up 0.36%, again, making new all-time highs. Gold, we already talked about, up 2.02%. And the NASDAQ up 0.49%. The NASDAQ did trade above that major 25,000 level. And let's take a look at the charts. I got a daily on the NASDAQ up here. Coach Paul, what are we looking at?
At all-time highs.
Can we get much higher?
Not surprising. It's been quite the run, and it continues. No signs of abatement. So buy the dip, still running well, but it looks like it's going to continue. Anything else you see in that?
It is just running. We talked about this during the market kickoff with Anne Marie and during the opening call with Hogue. When we start these trends, if we look at somewhere near 50% of the prior day's range, pretty good spot to buy a dip. Looking at the past couple of days and just framing these out along the way, and today was no different, right? We haven't spent much time below a prior day's low in any of these daily candles in the equities, and today was exactly that. We came down in the overnight session down to near 50% of Friday's range. Of course, it's the NASDAQ, so it's going to run it by 20 points. But yeah, I just see an extremely strong market. Not real opportunity for anyone to sell on a day like today. This is a 30-minute chart, and the biggest pullback I see during the New York session was 40 points outside of the close, which we got 47 points. Tough markets to short for sure, and could be a tough market to long as well, right? We hear traders all the time, how do you get into markets that continue to make all-time highs? It really is about finding an average pullback and then getting in. I think the scary thing about buying when the chart looks like this, Coach Paul, is that the area of invalidation could be all the way down here, right? If you're going off of market structure. But if you trade with a reasonable contract size, and maybe you don't even have to risk this entire thing, sometimes the scary trade is the one we should be taking.
Yeah, and the temptation is to get short and find a place because I've talked about it before. I was guilty and at one time of fading all the highs. So if you're not in the flow, or if you sold this and you made some money today, then you have pretty good skill, because there wasn't much in terms that I look at that there was a good sell. Either way, whatever you're doing, it comes down to having a consistent plan and executing it. But like you said, understanding the risk. We talk about this a lot, and I'm going to repeat it. It doesn't. Whatever you're doing, predefine your risk and accept it. If you can't accept that risk, then you're just gambling. And I find that it happens so much,
right?
That it's not the market that gets away; it's you get away from yourself. So, on a day like today, I don't, if you waited and you were patient and you had a good plan to sell highs that you could scalp it, I mean, you've got a good process. I'm not that good. I go with the flow. So not to discourage, but if you could do that, you pull that off, man, my hat's off to you.
And the flow today was definitely to the upside. JD has a question in the chat. When are we irrationally bullish? Feeling like crypto. I mean, when do you say that this market is irrationally bullish, Coach Paul?
I don't know. That's a great question, and I don't know. You know what?
Someone can make the argument that we were irrationally bullish in April, right? When we sold off in most people's eyes because of the tariffs, and we still don't have any trade deals, but we're 50% up from that sell-off. That could be irrational, but
yeah, irrational exuberance, which was coined by Alan Greenspan when he was Fed chairman. And that was in I believe late 1998. It was about the NASDAQ. And I think the NASDAQ doubled. Now, I know this, it kept exploding. Now, that's why I bring that up. I agreed with him. And it got more irrational, more irrational than I had funds.
Yep.
So when the high's in, I'll know when the high is in after it's made. So we go back and you look for some clues. One of them would be a large volume day that has an engulfing candle. That's the first one. I don't. That's why I said when I look at that daily, there's nothing like that. Can it happen tomorrow? Sure, but we won't know until it happens, and that's just the beginning. So yeah, I feel it's. My gut says this is overvalued, but
The charts
my
say, who cares?
well, my broker says, well, I don't care how big your gut is, you can't put it up for margin.
Right.
And so I'm not. That's why I don't fade the stock market. It's just it's designed to go up, and we're seeing that.
Yes,
So,
we are. Go ahead, Coach Paul.
so we had contract highs in S&P, NASDAQ, and Dow.
S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, all contract highs. We saw a very similar pattern that we've been seeing, a little bit of consolidation through Asia, selling during London, and then London has been setting the low on a lot of these days around 3 or 4 a.m. Eastern time, and then we just rally from there, right? If we look at the London Open, we find buyers and they continue to push. They bought it through New York and continued to buy. We're not going to overanalyze this because this really was just a one-directional trend day from the start. Here's the New York session open. This VWAP here. We left pretty early, came back with a test of it. This is probably my best trade of the day, buying at 865s in the NASDAQ. And really strong trend, traded above 25,000. We'll see tomorrow. That's going to be, big fat round number. A lot of interest around that area. So we'll see how we trade around it the rest of the week. But a really strong move here in the NASDAQ. Take a look at the S&P chart really quick. Similar story here. Whatever's happening in London, quick little sell-off, no traction for sellers, and about face and turn around the other way. 67, 56, 75, new all-time high in the S&P. Courtney said it, the first minute was the low of the day. Yeah, in a lot of these markets. And then the Dow, 46,784, new all-time high in the Dow. I'm curious to see what the Russell did, Coach Paul. And here's the Dow, right off that 200 moving average. These are just really, really strong markets at this point. I think finding an opportunity to buy a dip, and the dip could be pretty big, right? It's not just blind buy, but looking at 50% of a prior day's range, looking at a 200 moving average, some type of demand, they've all been holding, right? This entire time up, they've all been holding. So looking for places to buy. Let's take a look at the Russell.
Very similar to the Dow.
Very similar to the Dow. The Russell still has about 3.5% to get to that all-time high. We are near highs of the year. We traded highs of the year on Friday, which was 24.9860. The underlying did make an all-time high in the Russell, but the futures have not yet, I believe. So we still got a little bit of work to do. Anything else you got on the equities, Coach Paul?
Yeah, that Russell on the half hour, we touched that 200 early. If we take the night session off, I hear someone to say, I'm unable to hold the trades longer. I just want to go over one of the things to look for. So if we just go we take just the regular trading hours.
Yep, this is regular trading hours.
Yeah, and then we start off with the first 5 minutes. Now we have this gap lower. Now, the other markets were rallying, and Russell was still getting hit, which to me is a sign that it's very healthy for the other markets. Um, but let's frame that out and mark out. Well, first of all, let's mark out what are the 200 moving averages on a half hour. Oh, we won't get it on this. It'll be on the yeah, electronic. All right. So that red line we know is the 200. Yeah, this is now the first 5 minutes come in, and we test that. We get under it, and let's put a VWAP on the first 5 minutes. Now there is the test, and there were shorts in there, and the highest volume outside of the first, actually the highest volume was the first 5 minutes. But look at the volume following it. It's just smaller, but it's steady. Then we get above VWAP and we close above the high. Now, with that information, that I want, what are we getting? That this was bought lower. But it didn't appear that way because the highest volume was selling. So with that type of structure, now let's put the half-hour bar on it. And look where that's framed out. It makes that so much easier to see to me. Look at that half hour. What it covers almost the entirety of that wick. With that knowledge in mind, you know that it was scooped up, most likely it was bought on the opening. It has a high probability of continuation. I hope that helps you when you're identifying if it has the DNA. If that opening range volume and it was in the middle of the half hour, it would have less probability because it traded, but most likely it traded both sides. So when you can see that structure, you have the DNA that it has a higher probability of continuation. I hope that helps.
Absolutely. Really nice move there in the Russell. Still has a little bit of catch up to do, but getting through that 2,500 again. Russell pretty close to highs of the year. Still has a little work to do to get through here. Let's take a look at gold, another market that made all-time highs. What a move here in gold. We have the take a look at a daily first, Coach Paul. What are you seeing here?
Oh, the same as we've talked about. It's a runaway market. And look at today. That wasn't. It didn't even give you a chance to run pullback. We taught that there is nothing in this chart that says fade this. It's a runaway, and it looks like it's going to. It's a high probability it will continue. Let's look
Yeah.
at the weekly real quick.
Okay. Taking a look at the weekly in gold.
Yeah, much the same. Actually, it looks like it's got so much more room to go. So,
Yeah, it really, honestly, it really just looks like it's getting started. We talked about this daily and the consolidation that we had in the September 9th candle. And when we did the opening call with Anne-Marie yesterday, the read was, and I see Leo says, I hope Coach Jay made tons of money in gold today. I got stopped out before the rally on my trade, but the read was there, right? If we see volume above this September 9th high, uh, we're starting this next leg up. That's exactly what we got. I have that candle framed out, and if we look at the open in gold last night, volume never even tested this range. What do I mean by that? This VWAP stayed above it the entire day. There was really no fade at all of this move, and just a grind up. Continue to grind up all day. We never tested below VWAP. Nice cut on the house account trade where we had a short based on the micros triggering a short in the 5 minute, but the minis did not. Great call by Hogue to cut that trade. And would we have taken this entire thing of risk? No, but we saved ourselves $400. So yeah, just a really nice grind up in gold. We are now a 0.5% off of 3,800. And we could be seeing that tonight, Coach Paul.
Yeah, easily. I still think 4,000 is within reach soon.
I heard Hogue say 5,000 today.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's when a runaway market. Like I said, when gold took off in 1979, it took off from like $50. It ended up at $800 for one day. So take that into consideration. It just gets insane.
Right.
By the way, after that 800, it went back down to 200 about 20 years later. But I'm not going to be alive for that. But it's important to know that that's why if you're just on a price basis, it can bring a lot of fear. Like, I can't do this here; it's too expensive. Get with the flow, position right, and you can participate.
Absolutely. Really nice grind up here in gold. Let's take a look at silver, because silver, I know we don't have many traders that trade it. It is a pretty expensive contract. But we are still seeing silver at, prices that we have not seen for years.
20 years.
How many? You said 20 years, Coach Paul?
20 years, probably.
Right. I almost have to pull up a trading view chart because our Top Step X charts don't even go back that far. But looking at a monthly chart in silver, we are looking at prices that we haven't seen since 2012. So going back 13 years. And you know what? Actually, let's pull this up because this is an interesting chart. Again, if you do trade silver and you want to get into this trending market, I would suggest trading SIL, which is the micros, because silver is an expensive contract, $25 a tick. Let's see if I can pull this up here.
Well, I can pull out the monthly. All right, so 2011, we hit the price of $49.
Go transition over here. Silver and micros is expensive as well. I agreed. I agree. I know we have some traders trading it, and we talk about all markets here, and this is just, again, kind of have to talk about everything. Even if we don't suggest trading it, again, I would not suggest anyone trade the big silver. Micros are $5 a tick, but again, we're going back to prices that we have not seen since, on this chart, February 12th, February 2012, and
Yeah.
we're not even near all-time highs yet. Is this just a major trend line? But really interesting breakaway market right now. We're seeing it in silver. We're seeing it in gold. Yep, and Bruno just said it right. The ratio in silver is in SIL is 1 to 5, not 1 to 10. So those micros are $5, and the minis are $25. Again, expensive contract to trade, but an interesting market right now with it kind of being a runaway market. So let's get back to markets we talk about often. All right, let's take a look at crude oil. Pretty quiet in crude today. Not a whole lot going on. I think everyone else was busy trading all the markets that were making all-time highs. But what are we seeing in crude oil on the daily, Coach Paul?
Oh, much the same. In a range. We got to the bottom of that range, and we're back at the high of the 200-day moving average. Still some good opportunity in the day trading, but we're stuck in this range. and it appears I don't see anything that says we're coming out of it anytime soon. How about yourself?
Uh, Seeing consolidation still. We see 3 up days, 3 down days. This has just been the crude oil pattern. We took a trade in the house account today, took a short in crude oil off that opening range break. And, we got down to, Hogan and I were looking at some levels. There was some size at 61.50 that came in on the bid. We didn't even trade down there. 61.61 was the low of the day and just right back up into the range. If I trade crude, if I am going to place a trade in crude, I am looking for opportunities near the extremes of that range, somewhere down near 61.50s. These mid 61s is the low, up near 64 is the high, and just looking to kind of rinse and repeat that trade until the market decides something different. But for
Yeah.
right now, it is in that range.
Again, we talk. Look at the moving averages, the 20, 50, and 20, 50, and 200. They're almost all the same. They're coming to a place where they are the same.
Yep.
When we talked before, I still, this could have a pop. It could turn around, but it's not there yet.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing to say that crude should not be trading in this range right now.
That's a good point.
We get some fundamental news that, oh, crude is bullish because of this, and then we look you look at the headlines and you say, bullish where? Where's it going? And then you get another headline that says crude is bearish because of this, and you say, bearish where? Because it hasn't gone anywhere. Crude seems very comfortable sitting in this price range right now until it's not, and I would imagine similar to gold, after sitting in this consolidation for however many days we're going to be here, the move should be a pretty big one. But for right now, it is extremely comfortable in this range.
Yes, it is. And offering short-term intraday scalps.
Yes, it is. All right. So I see some questions in the chat. Questions about gold, questions about the equities. Who is buying up here? And one of the things that we want to point out, while we were rallying, I like to look at the tilt data to see how, at least top step traders are positioned. And that entire rally, there were some heavy long tilts, but towards the end of the day, there was a 70% short tilt in the NASDAQ. Now, are big money, are institutions coming in and buying a ton of size at all-time highs? Maybe, maybe not. But I know for sure what happens is when someone continues to short a market that grinds up, Coach Paul, I think they turn into fuel for the rally.
Yep. Bad selling.
Yeah.
And we see that, and especially in a runaway market. Like I said, it's so tempting.
Yeah.
But who is buying it? We don't know, but it's not a small institution. It's not speculators. It's not people buying jewelry. It's got all the signs of central bank buying. Loss of confidence in the U.S. central bank. That's what I would call it. Because it's accelerating. A politicalization of Federal Reserve would lead to runaway gold buying, and we're seeing it. So it's not controllable by the Fed itself or the Treasury, but other central banks. They get a hint or a whiff that this is going to happen. They're not going to buy dollars by buying treasuries. They're just going to buy gold. And it seems to me what's happening.
GDL makes a comment in the chat here saying paper money is being devalued. I heard Manfred on TV saying that as well. That's getting more economist talk than we do here, but I don't disagree. I've heard Jack mention this as well, that If paper money gets devalued, then the price of these things are going to continue to go higher. That being said, make your money to the long side so you can hedge the devaluation of the dollar, because the dollar is continuing to sell off. Any other markets? We kind of went through everything pretty quick here, Coach Paul. Any other markets do you want to talk
Yeah,
about?
well, speaking of the dollar, let's look at the euro.
Take a look at the euro currency on a daily. What are we seeing here?
We've been trading slightly higher to sideways. We're holding the 20-day and the 50-day. So the trend is still intact. We're still above the 200. This could pick up an acceleration. Let's look at the half hour.
Sitting right
So
at that
what
200
line?
moving average. 200 moving average on the 30-minute chart, the high of the day in the euro currency. You are someone who watches the dollar index. The euro is pretty much an exact inverse of the dollar. And it looks like, Coach Paul, we have the potential to break out for another leg up here.
Yeah. So I'm keeping an eye on that for a signal to buy. And I think that it would accelerate. Now, I don't think European economies want that. But notice there hasn't been a trend we're talking about paper money in currencies, but there's been a huge trend in gold and now silver. So I guess I should buy more silver.
Buy more silver, buy more gold. It is continuing to rally. Any questions we have in the chat, let us know. Any markets that you guys do want us to cover, or we can today. Again, the markets made it kind of easy. They were just trend up markets, right? In the equities, look for opportunities to buy pullbacks. Going into tomorrow, watching the NASDAQ, I'm going to be paying attention to this 25,000 level. Not just a blind short from there, but just wanting to see how, if the flow continues above 25,000, anytime we get near one of these major numbers in the equities, we want to pay attention to if the flow continues, right? We need to attract some new buyers up here, whether they're buying to close or open a position. If somebody's still holding short here, they might, I don't know who still holding short here, but maybe, but they may fuel the next leg higher. Brad says J trade on GC Cash Open. Yeah, that was a pretty nice one. Pretty nice one. Right here is what Brad is talking about. Heavy selling initially came down to an area that was supportive prior and closed above it, and that was pretty much it. We made another little low here, but really nice rally from that point. How much is one gold Bitcoin?
Gold Bitcoin?
I don't know what that means.
There is a gold to Bitcoin, but let's look at Bitcoin. Now, that was supposed to be digital gold.
Yes, it was.
It doesn't seem to be staying up with gold. We had a pretty big break today. Let's frame out that first half an hour. And this was out without a weekend gap. So we're under the 200. We're still above the 200 on the daily, so I wasn't interested in taking the short. But in retrospect, maybe I should think again. But we're picking up steam to the downside. You would think that Bitcoin should be at least holding its own. It was down, 2%?
Yeah, Bitcoin was down 2.19% today.
So that's a pretty significant. Let's look at the daily again. Is there something in that structure that says this can continue? Did break out of this last week's range, but not a very impressive movement today, considering what gold and silver are doing. Yeah, I kind of want to stay away from Bitcoin for now.
Yeah. We haven't tested that 200 moving average in a little bit. Is down at 105.349. 105.349, that 200 moving average on the daily chart, but a really nice sell-off in Bitcoin. I think framing out this high volume candle here, this 30-minute candle that was at 2 a.m. Eastern time, that's one of the highest volume candles we've seen in a little while, outside of the Fed candle, because Bitcoin now responds to interest rates as well. But framing out this 30-minute candle and watching how the market responds here. If we start to get a close above this on a 30-minute, maybe we see that push back up, but I could see us ranging here for a little bit. I know there was some news overnight about a big sell in crypto that maybe led to that here. But DDL says gold and silver, the only real money. Everything else is a figment of our imaginations.
Well, to me, the only real money is food. I can live without gold or silver. I cannot live without food.
Good point.
I tried one time.
It's tough.
Didn't work out well.
That is tough.
But no, it's gold and silver are back again, holding the spotlight.
Here we go. Balaji has a question. On days like today, and I'm assuming you're talking about any of the trending markets. So let's take a look at gold, but you probably trade the equities. On days like today that the train left the station, is there a better way to join the train or just stay out so as not to get eaten by the shark? It's a great question. That is a great question. Finding what an average pullback is in the market could help, right? If I measure something like this in gold, let's say, let's say when the train has left the station already. So we're seeing gold like this. How do you get into this trade? We were on with Barron, who's a gold trader now, and he said it himself. I'm looking for a pullback. If it doesn't pull back, there's no trade. So that could be the first approach, where if this is all-time highs and I don't have a plan for buying all-time highs, then I don't get in the trade. We look at it, gold really didn't give us a pullback. But what I kind of like to do in this market, where it's just a runaway, is wait for a red candle to close right after a pullback. So we got just, I can't buy it. I can't buy it. It's continue to make highs, continue to make highs, continue to make highs, continue to make highs. Okay, a little bit of a pullback, and then buying one of these red candles when the selling looks like it's failed. It's a tough thing to do. I'm going to be honest. There's no Coach Way. I don't know, Coach Paul. I don't know if you have a great way to get into a trending market like this, but it's looking for a heavy sell. You hear Mohammed do this all the time, right? A heavy red candle fails, and then buying that failure, right? Because sellers tried, whether they were profit taking, whether they were trying to short this, they tried to push it lower and they didn't get it, right? So now I have a spot where I can limit my risk, right? But it has to be a strong candle. These kind of indecisive candles here, I don't think is a good enough reason to start looking for longs in the trend. But when we get a strong candle and it fails, and maybe taking a trade in that trend. And also, if I get in long here, my risk does not have to be down here, right? Because a lot of times what's scary is it's like, oh man, it's come so far. If I'm wrong, we got all this way to go. Well, if you're wrong and you're still holding a trade down here, then, no matter where you got in, you got to accept being wrong on a trade. So I would go with risk below a recent pivot, right? A recent pullback. But it's a hard one to get into. Coach Paul, do you have any approach that you have for getting into trending markets?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a good question. And part of that question is the fear that's already left. One of the things, if it's not part of your trading plan that you've developed, don't take it. because then you're going to be chasing. Now, part of your plan is to buy a dip and use VWAP from the opening. So at this point, how far are you away from the initial buying? You're away from where's the highest volume? At this point, it's all the highest volume is buying. That's not failing. It's not a J trade. Now we got the possibility of, look, was that the close? That high selling? Yeah.
Yep.
So in that, you're away from volume. I'll define volume as VWAP. It's laden. While this case, it kept on going, I don't play that game. Unless it's part of your overall, that's how you trade. So part of that statement is, if it's gone, it's gone. Look, I would say look at another market for something. Good question.
Yeah, you could always look at another market. You could scale down, right? If you normally trade minis, or let's say you normally trade 5 micros, but you want to get in the trend, maybe trade 1 just to get some skin in the game. But it is not an easy thing to do. What you can look at, and I hesitate to say, hey, look at this indicator or this, because it may not be a part of your process. But I know a ton of traders use shorter term moving averages as potential pullback areas, right? If I pull up the 20 moving average on the 3-minute candle here, it's the yellow line there, right? It provided a little bit of support. It's not the way I trade, but I know that there are traders who do it. So there's a bunch of different ways. Or like Coach Paul said, if it's no trade, it's no trade. And that is okay as well. You want to be able to do something repeatable. Do we know that gold is, do you have a repeatable process to trade gold every time it makes a 2% move? Do we even know at this point that a 2% move is a probability? Days like this happen. They don't happen that much. Maybe more recently they do. Anything else you want to cover, Coach Paul? I think we got to most of our questions and the markets.
Let's look at, we haven't looked at the grains in a while. Let's look at, speaking of a trending in food, the irony is the grains are dead and moving lower. I just want to go through this as a trend. There's no trend in the grains. It's a place that if you're a fade trader, it's a good place to be. Now, let's look at the cattle. Now, there's a trend. So let's look at the first 3 minutes of cattle today. Now, and that question Balaji had about, and I'm taking this from a market that's gotten away, right? It's at all-time highs. If I'm not a day trader, but if I want to get on that trend, I can't just buy it blindly. There's so much risk. But in this situation, I can look at the first 3 minute, 1 minute, 5 minute, and see if there is any structure to buy it. So in this case, there was this morning. And there was urgency, and it was a great trade. And it looks like it has a chance to continue. But early in the day, you're going to, if you can find it, that's the cheapest risk you're going to get. And we see it. Now let's look back to the soybeans. First 3 minutes. Is that the first 3 minutes?
Yes, it is.
So there's a non-trending market, and it was down pretty much. It happened overnight.
Yep.
So trying to catch markets that look like they've gotten away, you have to really have you shorter your time horizon and have some structure that you can take that's cheap enough for you to afford, and then you get a chance. But that's why I look at for trending markets, and trending markets are hard once they get away, but you will find dips. On a day trade, it's even harder because why? You don't have time. It's going to close soon, and you can't hold it. So going back to that question, using those examples, if it's away and you're not in at a good place, don't trade it.
D-Trade in the chat says, any reason for the three-minute chart? It's just a preference. 3 might be a magic number. I don't think it's magic, but yeah, it's just a preference thing. It is just a preference. Great point there, Coach Paul. Any other questions? I think we are good.
Yeah.
I think we got to them all. Give you back 15 minutes here. Coach Hoop is doing a class in Discord.
Ask him about the cattle.
Ask him about the cows. Ask Coach Hoop about the cattle market. It looks like it's prepping to make an all-time high tomorrow, potentially. We are, maybe not tomorrow. Sometime this week, maybe. We're less than 2% off the all-time high in cattle here. A really strong day. Dylan started using the 3-minute chart. It's great. I would agree with you. I would agree with you. Is the 3-bar reversal universal? It depends on, yeah, you know, I would say yes. The markets are fractal. 3-bar reversal is universal. Is it going to give you the same results every time? I think that's a Dakota question. He's going to tell you it depends. He's going to tell you it depends. Speaking of Dakota, slow markets coming up tonight at 7:30 a.m. Central Time. But before that, we have Coach Hoop, Coach Ray, and Coach Vince in Discord, 5:30 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time. Then, of course, Dakota with slow markets. I'll be on with him tonight. And then we have Aaron with the London Open, 1:30 a.m. Central Time, D with the Euro Trade, 4:30 a.m. Central, and we'll be back for the opening call tomorrow. New OCO orders on Topstep X. So take a look at those. Gabe did a preview of those earlier during fast markets. I think it is a great feature to have. But if you don't know how to use them, play around with them in a practice account, not somewhere where you actually have risk. At an XFA or a combine, do it in a practice account, figure out how the orders work and how you can use them to your advantage. Anything else you got before we go, Coach Paul?
Moist Towlett is asking, my DLL timer just got reset. How long does it take to refresh? I don't know.
If your DLL timer, if you got stopped out hitting a DLL today, it was a personal DLL, you got 41 minutes before you can trade again. Is that right? 41 minutes? You can trade again at 6 p.m. Eastern time. p.m. Eastern
There
time.
you go.
When the markets open up. Right? So good job having a DLL in there, even if it's a personal one. Hopefully it's a percentage of your account that is manageable. And come back and trade tomorrow. All right, everyone. Coach Paul, anything else you got before we go?
Plan your trade your plan, and we will talk again tomorrow.
We will talk to you all tomorrow. If you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up button on the way out. We appreciate you all for joining. Catch you tomorrow. Bye.
All right. Bye.